Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2. Classic names here, and no, not the Protoss who's returned, but two of the most exciting players throughout StarCraft 2 history. Both of them recently engaged in their South Korean military service. Let me first introduce the player who was supposed to retire after IEM Katowice, but I guess is still just chilling for now, and I haven't heard any official word on it, and I'm excited to introduce, of course, Dragon Phoenix Gaming Zest. Who knows what we're going to see in this particular Best-of-5, but I think it's worth liking and subscribing for. Because honestly, who knows at the end? Which Zest will we get today? Now, for only the second time since his return, one of the most storied players in StarCraft 2 history, the biggest loser. I know it sounds bad, but he's gotten more second places in major tournaments than essentially anyone else. The best of the rest. And back for good, it seems. It's soO. Against Byun, he showed a very classical strat, a classical style. And by classical, I mean just making a whole lot of Zerglings and ultralit, like just, what are these spellcasters? Okay, we're not wizards here, we're Zerg. In the good old-fashioned way, back in my day, the Zerg out-expand and out-produce. That's what they do. And I don't care about this silly Legacy of the Void, starting with 12 workers, economy. soO was always played like the Zerg are supposed to be inefficient but effective. And that makes it very entertaining, but also you're one bad fight away from getting run over. Someone who's willing to take almost any fight is, of course, Zest. As so many times we see him just walk in like he owns the place, and just through the confidence of that action, does. I have never quite seen players flinch away as they do against Zest. Because he just goes, like, for example, 2 Phoenixes, 2 Adepts, a Stalker walk up, and there's 5 Queens and 10 Roaches. Now, on paper, Zest loses that fight. And in practice, Zest also loses that fight, but the Zerg definitely does get scared. Like, is that a real army? No, but he's come out with some, I hesitate to call them builds, but flavors of Protoss versus Zerg, especially since the re-nerf of the Void Ray, bringing it back to its previous, still strong, but less ubiquitous, one-size-fits-all role. He still likes Void Ray. He'll still just build Void Rays. Like, 50 minerals, a few more seconds of build time doesn't change the fact that they're a good all-around unit when you have no other specialists. And he is starting out with that Void Ray to make sure the Overlord... Well, soO's Overlord. Well... floats mournfully away. Hard to tell the emotions of the Overlord. They all kind of... look the same. A whole lot of Zerglings here. soO's gonna try the Nexus cancel. Behind this, Zest. Wow. So he's just getting +1 air. He does not care. He's just. And this isn't hiding it. This isn't trying to fake it. No, he's just gonna build more Void Rays. Well, I'm glad I covered that base. Dances around. The Queen's focusing on the Oracle. The Void Ray actually gets. Ah! What a save! I shouldn't be alive. An Overlord with a single-digit HP. And now the Zerglings on the other side of the map. Zest warps in a couple of depths. Hard to get the surface area with the pylon really jamming things up, but the Zerglings will overrun. I don't think he's going to get the Nexus, as the Void Ray is coming back. That's going to make things annoying. Really all you can do with the Zerglings when your opponent has Stargate units. The Adept trying to slip and slide around. The Zerglings finally nab it. Void Ray finds its way back home and says, well, I guess if you want something done right, you build more Void Rays. This message brought to you by Void Rays Incorporated. Well, more Zerglings. Those a little optimistic. You really need an overwhelming amount to actually take out the base. But delaying everything else, delaying mining, was it worth it? soO has 54 drones, which is less than the 57 probes that Zest has. Is not in this game. Stop. Hammer time. No! Okay, we're casting StarCraft. I know there's some downtime. I know there's a lair, a fleet beacon, a bunch of drones, probes in production. I know they're going to be sitting back and just flirting with each other for the next few minutes until they have actual unit compositions with which to fight. But that doesn't mean we can just go off track. We can't go in every single direction. We're not a Protoss player with 3 bases of gas. So... we'll see. Zest is not deviating. Sometimes players will actually add in that ground army. They will. Zest, though, a bit of a purist this game. He's got a fleet beacon, another Stargate, +1 attack is finished. He has no other tech besides 2 gateways, which are mostly wall-offs, as opposed to anything else. The triple carrier! And a forge, which feels quite late for a forge. soO, every Zerg, much to their dismay, has gone through this. He has carriers. And this is the reason why you don't really see Hydraless dens anymore. Hydras are not really an anti-air unit. Hydras are mostly lurker eggs. And anti-stalker. And those Hydras are vulnerable to many of the same things Queens are, and Queens are just overall more efficient. So, Corruptors, if Serral is to be believed, and I've heard he's pretty good. Corruptor, Viper, Infestor, Queen, Spore. Broodlord. Is all you need, with some Zerglings. And maybe some Banelings. That is, the simple tool of dismantling the Skytoss army. At this point, it's very clear what Zest is doing. There was an overseer in the base. He knows. He's got Corruptors on the way. You got to run the risk. You can run the risk of building too many Corruptors, though, because Corruptors are one of the only dedicated air-to-air units in the game. Technically, they have an anti-building attack, but it's even more clunky to use than, like, mass Phoenixes. So, many games, especially against Zest, we've seen an overwhelming amount of anti-air countered by 3 or 4 Archons. And Zest is actually filling in the blanks now. On the ground underneath the carriers. He's working his way down the tech tree, actually. Yeah, well, the Zerglings, if they didn't know before, no mothership, by the way. We'll see if that's the choice eventually. Mothership, I am hard-pressed to see motherships paying off at this level. They are incredibly expensive. Maybe if you are in a winning position and want to close it out, but they're a huge risk. They cost significantly more than a carrier. It takes so long to build. That cloaking field, not really the game winner most of the time against a competent Zerg. So far, Zest has not researched Storm. Okay. Zest is an efficient player. He knows Storm prevents him well, Storm takes a lot of APM, so why bother with that when you could just have Archons? Hold position on the Archons. Shield battery backstop. The Corruptor's trying to snipe. Corrosive Bile actually lands on a few Void Rays, but the charge lock count is overwhelming the Ravagers on the ground. So, all right. It looks like the foreplay phase has ended, and now it's time to start laying into each other. Revelation hits some of the Corruptors, enough to matter. Corruptors hitting the Spore Crawlers are not all burrowed here. Corrosive Bile hits some of the Zealots, but soO doesn't seem to care. I mean, well, neither does Zest. Nobody cares in this scenario. The Oracle just kind of wanders through. The charge lots are overrunning the ground, and there's no ground army left. Archon having their way with the Corruptors. soO scrambling just to deal with the charge lots right now. Zest calmly, coolly, and glacially moving across the map. Whoops in 10 more charge lots. The Archons working their way through, boxing out the Corruptors as the carriers have arrived. soO has money in the bank, but what does he do with it? The Archons staying intact underneath those carriers. Anything that gets close, in small numbers, the carriers deal with it. In large numbers, the Archons are the major threat. Picks off one Void Ray, but soO's losing so much ground here. Now, 20 more roaches on the way. The carrier count really isn't that high. There's only 5 carriers. It's just those 4 Archons, the bodyguards here. Zest just has not given up. He didn't even bother with an observer. I don't know if it died or he doesn't care. Yeah, let the boy watch, says Zest. Always a little bit seductive and mildly uncomfortable. Just like fighting this army. Well, the Void Rays charge up. Corrosive Vials, but the carriers are still going to work on whatever they can. The Interceptor count is dwindling, but the Archon count is not. As the Archons start to outnumber all the other units. Corrosive Vial, Shotgun Volley, blasts up but does not land. Oh my god, the Archon count, Zest, throwing his weight around. But metaphorically, because Archons kind of just hover. They're propelled by their sheer anger at having so little range. A round of Stalkers, as I pointed out, they have so little range. soO is doing a whole lot of not losing, but I'm not sure what his plan is to actually win this battle. The Corruptor Roach, 22 Corruptors. He's built a bunch more Ravagers. No spellcasters on either side. We're just brawling it out here. Which on paper should favor Zest. And in practice, as soO has lost 3,000 more minerals and twice as much gas. Oh, that Warp Prism's kind of a big deal. Here comes Zest, moving his way around. Oh, the Void Rays picked up. Blink Stalkers blink in, covering the areas the Archons cannot. As Zest started to realize, like, maybe it's a few too many Archons. And reluctantly built Stalkers here to mix things up a bit. The charge lots warped in. Zest continues breaking through. Some of the charge lots between a rock and a hard place. The Archons making their way up. It appears Zest has decided now is the time. The Corruptors trying to focus, but the swarms of Interceptors not nearly enough. Zest just... He licked his finger and stuck it in the air. He's like, it's time. Now, kind of feels like he could have done that for like 4 minutes, but who doesn't like playing with their food? So that was pretty... I was hoping, and it was a bit unreasonable, a bit unfair. I was hoping that soO would show us a novel and reliable strategy for dealing with this turtle to carrier style. Instead, he showed me that at least I play as well as soO. Strategically, not mechanically. The slowly dying while praying that corrosive vials land is a nice tried and true ladder strat. So shout out to soO on that one. What is that pylon, Zest? Is that, like... That entire game felt like Zest was sitting there with... If you've ever watched the defining social commentary of our generation, Trailer Park Boys, then you'll know the Julian character, who always has a drink of who knows in his hand. And I imagine that Zest, except playing StarCraft with his other hand. That is my feeling in many of these games. The probe. Flirting with the minerals. The drone. Playing hard to get. Zest. Let me at you, minerals. Minerals. Like, that's the wrong side, probe. Please, step probe, stop flirting with me. Yes, dozens of minerals lost if soO doesn't micro those drones back on the mineral patch. He's got to remind that mineral patch whose base it's close to. Because the mineral patch can't actually tell who's mining from it. The mineral patch sends a message to anyone trying to mine from it, like, I'm taken. And that's why you see this little silly micro happening. And if you can bounce the drones off to the other patches, yeah, it takes them slightly longer to get their minerals. And it's annoying, very importantly. Grabs the minerals as the pull finishes, gets out. It is one of those things that I think it's so clear. Not so clear, but like it's so common that people kind of forget why we do it and just kind of, at least many players who aren't at the top level don't realize what it's actually accomplishing, which is annoying your opponent significantly. And that's most of the Protoss game plan in PvZ, between blocking the hatchery, between bouncing around those minerals. Honestly, most things are related to probes. Probes, well known as, if any single unit was responsible for more heart palpitations, I would like to know what it is. What is the most? What unit is responsible individually for the most blood pressure raising in the game? Like Adepts. Yeah, they're super annoying and stressful, but they don't have the effect a single probe. A single probe. Speaking of probes, is that a Bane nest? Has nothing to do with probes, but may soO. What are you doing, soO? Do you know what year it is? Zest is going 3-gate into double Stargate, and he has a pylon in the... Is he just doing this because there's a pylon in the wall? He's like, well, pylon in the wall is kind of dumb. To which I agree. He's just baneling busting him, and with a... Well, okay. So, there are Adepts. This is... Huh. Well, the Stargates aren't done. Let's go to the Zest action cam here. Like, cancels the gas. What a save! Warps in one. That one baneling is a real problem, though. That one baneling is really ruining things here. He got it. Yeah, that's not a wall, Zest. That is. So Zest has 10 more probes, though, right now. And we gotta get those probes out of the natural. He's attacking with the probes. So, like, he's not... It's a bit messy. Well, the force field's good. The banelings might be able to kill it over the wall. We'll see. Another sentry. So Zest has cleaned up all the Zerglings in the base, and then demonstrated why people don't usually baneling bust nowadays. Unfortunately, he doesn't have enough gas left over to actually build anything out of the Stargate. So the end result, Zest lost a few more probes than he probably should have, but he lost a lot less than he definitely could have. So he has 2 Stargates now, which is very good. He does still have his natural and most of his, well, all of his gateways. So there's a lot going for him. But soO does have total map control, which means drones. The question will be whether the existing units in the Phoenixes can slow soO down enough to keep him from overwhelming Zest. So we will have to see. Yeah, I'm not... If Zest had walled off like a normie... Sorry, Zest. I don't know if that would have even done anything. I'm not sure why he walls off like that. some players are like, well, I need to get the probe out 1 second faster, so that way I can block the hatch, which, okay then, but... That is why we usually build the pylon behind the wall, so that way banelings don't actually kill a unit and the wall itself. Well, now we got Phoenixes. Phoenixes, which always gain value over time. The question is how much? Some Adepts here. You can pick up the Banes. Just gotta be careful not to kill them in the air over your ground units because they actually explode onto the ground. Fun fact. Picking up a Queen. Not enough energy for Transfuse. No! Killing some more. Oh, don't lose a Phoenix. So, not great for soO. Limited anti-air, especially losing a Queen hurts. Fleet Beacon, because this is what we're doing now. Ricky, get the Fleet Beacon! Ah. It's not rocket appliances. Well, Phoenixes. Phoenixes doing as Phoenixes do, which is death by 1,000 floating cuts. Some shield batteries here as the Queens are marching. Brenda has had enough. Yeah, that base is an obvious placeholder now. Was he gonna recall the Phoenixes? Is that what I'm looking at? Or is he just killing all the drones? The Phoenixes do seem kind of necessary here. Force field. Oh, has to use a third. Gonna break out, but loses a lot of the lings beforehand. The Phoenix is just kind of floating back home. Oh, the walk of, well, the arduous walk of shame. Let's get back to creep, ladies. Why did we go there? Shh. Shh. This was a test of loyalty. soO has executed the most reliable counter to losing drones to Phoenixes, which is building way more drones. Anyways, those are Tempests. Picks up a Queen, but there should be almost unlimited transfuses. Yeah, I mean, well, so this is, what am I watching? He's getting tectonic destabilizers for that anti-building damage. It doesn't help against the Queens. We see Phoenix is dying to spores. The lair just finished. Zest just decided we're going Tempest this game, so here we are. There's nothing to stop the creep here, which is a little dicey. You gotta be careful with those Tempests as well. They don't accelerate very quick. They're much like Queens. They get a lot of mass to them. So you gotta be careful about microing them too. Well, you gotta keep them moving is the summary. Well, the Queen's gonna heal up. The Tempest kiting back in one of the more confusing battles. Is that enough to one-shot Queens? Because that... They're so large. Yeah, Tempests have been changed so much. They really feel a lot larger than they should be for their role. They used to be much more expensive and much more range. Now they're more of a mid-tier unit. Though rarely used against Queens, it's not never. The shotgun blast, a corrosive bile, just spraying and praying. The Queen is starting to run out of energy and hit points. Oh, the Dorito dusting is completed. Tectonic destabilizer, corrosive bile, almost hitting, but once again, it looks like some Fleet Beacon units up against a bunch of Queens and Ravagers praying. So that's not even target firing. Adding some more Tempests. What a play. That's freestyling out here, and it's working. It, like, lifts them up. The Tempests are so loud. It's the loudest attack of the game. This is assaulting both my ethics and my eardrums. And not necessarily in that order. Ugh. Well, some Corruptors on the way, but Already Void Rays being produced. The Corruptors are quite good. I don't know, at some point you might maybe just want to recall. Yeah, the Corruptors are doing quite a good job. Has to dodge some Corrosive Vials. What is happening? Here come the Adepts and a totally not select all. Yeah, the Corruptors are just wiping the Tempests out. Void Rays finally show up a little. What is. Micro's back. At this point, I guess just build a ground army? Well, nobody really has a ground. Alright. Here we go. Some unupgraded charges on the way. This game has gone sideways, up, down, all around, and we're landed somehow back before where we started. As Zest actually has 2 more workers. Neither side really has much of an air force anymore. I guess 11 Corruptors. All the Tempests died because a strong gust of wind could knock them over. It's just there weren't any other air units for soO. Meanwhile, Roaches with +2 and just now Roach speed. Up against... Well, you gotta kill the Corruptors. Otherwise, you can maybe shield battery overcharge to buy some time. Some Stalkers. He's not shielding. You need... Well... So, just add Corruptors killing the natural to your list. In case you were counting. That is the most effective use of Corruptors we've seen so far this series. There are probes just all over the place. The main base has about everything you can jam in it, and there's still room to spare. 8 going on, what is that, 12 gates now? A fleet beacon, 2 stargates, a forge, Templar archives. The Zerg, a whole ass army! The Queens have returned! That's a lot of Roach Ravager. Shield battery overcharge is a super awkward spot. Shield battery's on the high ground trying to help. We're fighting now. We're fighting now. The Queens are here. Where are the Phoenixes? Oh, it's in the main. The Queens are the front line. They can't transfuse. They're off creep. They can't channel their feng shui correctly. They need the creep. 9 probes died. Nobody's sure where. Corruptor's looking for anything to do. Find a carrier. Stalker's micro back. Where are the Archons? Feed back into Archons. No energy left. Queen looking very sad and soon looking very dead. Zest has plummeted. The Corruptors melt the base though. soO, the Queens may die, but Zest has actually no units left. He does still have 64 probes. The supply really tells the story, if you would. Zest decides just gonna counterattack here. He loses another base. The Corruptors are waiting for the opportunity to melt the natural yet again. And suddenly, it looks like soO, in this topsy-turvy mess, is actually gonna come out on top. Zest with 2 Gs, and soO, he navigates the treacherous path through a Baneling bust into a Corruptor bust, which is not words I think I've ever said, especially in that order. But certainly something. That game, I've watched a whole lot of StarCraft games, and that was certainly one of them. 1-1. I do like how Zest broke out the Tempests. I'm not convinced that was the ideal strat, but I'm pretty convinced Zest did not care. Wow, he's not even building a pylon this time. He's sending. He decided after that last experience, we're no longer trying to optimize the pylons. Okay. Zest learned his lesson. It's like, well, I could be more efficient if I just build my pylon in a terrible location. I don't even think the Baneling bust did that well. It was only when the Zerglings attacked the natural and they killed like 8 extra probes. That was just a mistake from Zest. He could have easily mineral walked up to the main. He attack moved. That was... He just screwed that. He bungled it. He fumbled it at the 5-yard line. Or approximately 4.8 meters for those using non-freedom units. In football, which is played with your hands mostly. hands are the things on your arms, which are things probes don't really have. Speaking of probes, the probe will use its face laser in order to flirt with these minerals yet again, but there's so many choices. Which do I pick? Ah, yes. The drone says, I'm the one who will treat you. I will mine your minerals. He's just playing. And here we go again. The dance. Zest. No, shakes his head. No, drone shakes his head. I shake the camera. Michael Bay is impressed. And the pool's finishing. He'll probably grab his minerals. Zest loves to grab the minerals and get out. It's a matter of principle. Grab those minerals, get out of here. You know the timing. Come on. Don't leave here empty-handed. Come on. Yeah, always grab the minerals. Just one, like, tweaking his nose at him one last time. I bite my minerals at you, sir. He always grabs them. There's no reason. You don't need to do it at all. But here we are. I mean, if you want this is like a thinking way too hard and not a real thing argument. If you have minerals in your hand and you accidentally click minerals, it won't try to go mine them because you're supposed to return them and go home. But that is not why Zest does any of that. There is no way. Even if he tells you, he says, I swear this is nothing but the truth, he's lying. Okay? And also, I didn't know he spoke English that well. But it's 99% just to screw with the Zerg, and I can get behind that. Zergling speed. In case you needed a hint. An oracle first. Is it going to be Moracles? No. It's a Twilight. Just the oracle. And this is for drone kill. You don't build an oracle first unless you're looking for some juicy drones to pop with your pulsar beams. So... yeah, except these two queens have something to say about it. They say, get off my lawn! So the Oracle kills 3 drones and leaves without further comment. Alright, so far, it's been Zest who wants carriers. Oh, it's time, though. It's time. Back to the classics. Oh, Zest. It's been too long. And by that I mean like 10 games since 50 Shades with Glaives. Actually, it's not quite the Glaives first build, but instead this is more like a macro Glaives. It's still 2 adepts with Glaives are all you need to eviscerate a mineral line. So I love the Oracle Revelation. This is originally why Revelation was changed to be less cooldown and less energy. Was for creep clearing. And then almost no one proceeded to use it for creep clearing. But Zest breaking it out here. Mucho Glaives. How many? A dozen. A dirty dozen. Deadly, dirty, dastardly dozen. And he doesn't care. Because he just... putting a stasis. Oh my god! Stop right there! Oh my... he just does it! soO saw it. He tried to stop it. Stop right there, criminal scum. He, in the middle of the fight, he just freezes the queens. Oh, come on! Have some respect! This isn't the medium AI! Oh, the adepts were blocking it mostly, is what happened. Like, he couldn't get enough Zerglings onto it. And now Zest is gonna lose his Adepts anyways, and this is overall, and his Oracle. So Zest overall lost this horribly. This was not good. This was actually pretty terrible for Zest. But, did you see that stasis? He did delay and kill drones. So soO is in a kind of weird spot economically, but... Did you see that stasis, though? That was so sick. And would you believe it behind this Void Race? So here's the thing. While soO didn't really get anything done, meaningfully, he did prevent soO, while Zest didn't really get anything done, he did prevent soO from getting that overwhelming economy. He forced him to build roaches and langs. And now, even though Zest kind of loses map control, he created the space. Ricky! The Fleet Beacon. Here we are, 3 for 3. And 2 Adepts. 2 Adepts do... Oh, come on, get out of here! And not with a recall. You know, that's one of my pet peeves. I have many. A lot of peeves have been pet. Yeah, that's how that's used over the years. But one of them is Protoss players obviously wasting their recall. Like, we are 7.5 minutes in the game. Are you telling me that getting 1 Adept out is and making it so you don't have a recall for 2 minutes, that was worth it? You have that either that much confidence or that little force. Oh, we're trying a new Fleet Beacon. Now, the Fleet Beacon. Buy Fleet Beacon today. This message brought to you by Fleet Beacon Incorporated. So the Fleet Beacon isn't just for carriers, though much of the time it is. You've also got Flux Veins. So your Void Rays can completely replace the role of the Phoenix. Also, Phoenix Range, so your Phoenixes can pretend to compete with Void Rays, but it's mostly for carriers. Field battery targeted, soO trying to get some lings in. He's already built the carriers, oh god. Despite everything, we're 8.5 minutes in. And Zest did a pretty committed Glaives attack. Yet, now there's... 2 Adepts! Oh, I hate Adepts. My god, 6 drone kills. He did a pretty committed Glaives attack. 4 bases, 72 probes, triple carrier. Sir? Yes, it's worth going back and looking for more, honestly. I was very excited to see those gateways finish. I don't know about you guys. Jimmy! Sorry. So. Six Corruptors. It looks like soO is gonna try Corruptor, Queen, Ravager. Well, we haven't seen any Ravagers, but here we go again. He's missing the special sauce. We got the peanut butter and no jelly here. It's, you gotta have the Vipers and or the Infestors. Those are the units that really make this all come together. Otherwise, things do not go smooth. This is not an army. I mean, if you get a carrier, cool. But I'm gonna use Serral. Serral seems like a pretty decent player. So Serral knows. He usually doesn't even try to attack until he has his spellcasters. He doesn't bother, because even if he clears some of these units out, he's not really making it easier to win the late game. He's not really making it easier for him to deal with the eventually maxed out army. If you can clear enough units to actually attack a base and delay the economy, okay. Like you kill enough carriers to kill the fourth, fine. But if you can't, you're just delaying the inevitable, which is a carrier Archon army with enough charge lots to stop you from getting close. Well, soO's maxed. 200 supply. We got Zest at just 85 army supply, 163 overall. So this is that opportunity to shave off part of the army. This is the only real chance soO has. Otherwise, he's going to be fighting a maxed out Protoss. Well, the Archon's boxing out. The carrier's balling up. Shield battery overcharge used. The carrier's dealing with the Ravagers. Without the Ravagers, there's nothing really to force micro out of the Archons. The Queen's being targeted by the Interceptors. Losing maybe a few too many. Only 25 left over. Trying to target fire. Archon's getting some shots off. And there's a bunch of charge slots in the natural. Well, the Corruptors may even kill the carriers. 16 drones. But that's going to leave still 5 Archons, 16 charge lots. There are 27 roaches on the way. But the problem is, without the spellcasters, you don't have the force multipliers. You don't have the units that can counter at least their weight in supply. And that left Zest open to send in the charge lots. And that's all it usually takes. soO, it does depend on Zest making a mistake now. Zest put himself in a commanding, dominant position. And soO is still stuck on Roach Ravager with a few Corruptors. Oh my god. Oh, Ravager Archon is quite a splash damage combo. soO, an accomplice in the murder of his own Corruptors. Wow. So, now how do you counter the Void Rays? With Corrosive Bile? Those are Flux Veins Void Rays. You can just do the soft lock on the Void Rays and chase them down. Well, so... Oh, get out of here, Zest. And once again, not with these stupid recalls. Really? Zest, he's just flexing. Like, that... Come on. He could have flown away. It would have been perfectly fine. Nope. Also, another question is why Zest doesn't go win the game. He doesn't. He's like, okay, let me finish my drink.
Your probes are under attack.
Chrono boost. Yeah, micro. Watch me micro these Archons, bro. Look how... soO's like, no, I will not. Zest is juggling Archons in a mineral line like we're 6 minutes in. And soO taps out of the game. He's had enough. In case you wanted the actual view of that fight, by the way. There was no fight. He just knew he couldn't beat the army. That's enough of that. Well, I'm glad we went to the Zest cam to see where his priorities were. You can't tell me that Zest honestly thought that the most important thing to be focusing on was Archon dropping the 4th. No. Zest is like, well, I'm here. It's not working. While the more brute force mass unit style might be enough for Zerg versus Terran, and even then it's a little dicey, soO's got to get with the times. Right now, he's playing a very outdated style. Protoss don't lose to that anymore. With the notable exception of, like, the Baneling bus game. And even then, that was kind of a weird choice from Zest. So far, as in many series Zest play, all the games, win or loss, seem to depend on his choices. Where, even if soO Baneling bus, it's the I'm going Tempests now that dictate the pace of the game. Or the I'm going Glaives and jamming a stasis ward in the middle of the fight. Which I'm not even convinced helped that much, but... it was definitely... Alright, and now, of course, the most important phase. The first date with the minerals. I've seen enough mobile games to know how this goes. Alright, well, it goes to the other side. Gonna mix it up. Had to smell it out. Probe knows. Oh, wait, no, he didn't like the taste. Back to the other side. Yes, there's a hatchery in the on the mini-map, by the way. Just, that's not important. A bit of a roguelike genre here. Did Zest see it? No, he's busy tonguing the minerals. So, this is what Rogue did, to an extent, in the GSL finals. Up against Creator. Rest in peace. I'm going to my third with the drone, except my third is actually outside your natural. Zest started Warp Gate, canceled it, built a Stargate. I don't know if he was faking it, or he just... Well, Zest sees it, builds a forge. That's how he's gonna handle this. Alright.
Don't just fucking stand there!
So here we are. He brought the minerals back. Always important. The probe's getting in on the action, leading with those minerals. Important to have a taste of the enemy. Yeah, the probe is actually an important part of making sure there's not enough surface area, and oh my god, the battery finishes.
What a save!
The Nexus is done. He's building cannons. He does have access to overcharge. Is there enough energy? Just got enough. Yeah, there's the overcharge. He'll hold for now. A second Stalker. He's trying to make as much use of this overcharge as he can. The Stalkers do extra damage to armored, which means all buildings. More batteries on the way! Oh, a probe. Zest so far has lost 0 units. 14 Zerglings down. More batteries on the way. But without an overcharge, you gotta be a little... He gets the spine! He's going for a second one. He gets it. The wraparound. He may lose a Stalker. Loses the Adept. The second Stalker. But the cannon count. The static defenses are growing for Zest and dwindling for soO. He loses a Stalker and an Adept. But at what cost? Shield battery overcharge. Oh my. Wow. Zest slaps it back. He does not give up almost any ground. Despite soO plopping a hatch down. Zest just handles it. And with it, the entire series. I can't blame soO for the attempt. But, wow, Zest. He locked that down. I don't even really feel like soO did it wrong. It's just, you can't flinch the unflinchable. Zest did not... There was no indicator of panic whatsoever. God, the confidence. Well, I hope Zest's military service continues as it has. They could definitely use him. Also, like... If he could keep delaying... Wow. What do you think? So, Unfortunately, soO not giving us a particularly new style of Zerg versus Protoss, but serving as quite the heel in this match for Zest to grind under or something like that. That made sense. Zest takes it 3-1, and the 1 has quite an asterisk. Commanding performance, but as always, fun to watch. I hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. Who do you want to see Zest play next? Good luck. Have fun. I'll see you next time. Stay chill.